Little details make huge differences. I always use white capes with brunettes, black capes with blondes. Why? It makes a big contrast. If I have this cape with this, can you see a big contrast? Sort of, a little bit, right? But if you do with this one, so when you're layering, when you're showing the hair and you're pulling it forward and you see the client, even the length, having two different sets of capes makes a huge difference. A lot of people don't think about that, but one detail, and then you tell your client and they'll be like, oh my God, I never thought about that. And it's like, that's right, because I'm unique. So with her, I'm gonna use white cape because a lot of her hair is actually dark. Some of it in the front is lighter. Jordan has almost like a blunt cut, very simple. I think that she has a beautiful face shape. You part your hair in the middle, yeah? In the consultation, I already talked to her a little bit. She lets it air dry and then she styles it. I always like to ask all those questions because I feel like it really gives me a glimpse of their world, and I'm trying to really understand where she's coming from in order for me to make decisions. Even for a haircut, just kind of help her. I don't want to do something that I can do here, but then at home, she can't do anything with it. That will be a disservice to her. So her hair is pretty straight naturally. It has a teeny tiny wave, but for the most part, she washes her hair, lets it air dry, and then she styles it, which is a pretty simple way. So I always like ask the question to the clients, hey, so basically you're kind of wanting something that is a bit of a change, but always able or capable of doing the same thing that you're doing, just with a different style. You want to make sure that you are changing it, but actually providing the opportunity for her to, like, the air dry and then styling, she's just going to look different. Probably she's not going to be able to reach the back because the back is going to go short, but beautiful face right here. So I think there's a lot that we can do with her. She said she wants curtain bangs. So I'm going to play around with some layering, but the layering is going to help with body. I want to create a lot of body movement to the hair without losing the fullness, because she doesn't have a lot of hair. It's not very thick. And I think that's one of the things that most hairdressers struggle with, because sometimes we don't know how many layers are enough without us making the hair look thin. And a lot of clients are actually scared, like, I have very thin hair, I don't want layers. That's not true. You don't want the wrong layers, you want the right layers. Obviously, parting the hair, super, super important. Parting is not like partying, but like parting the hair. It's where the hair lives and exists. When it's some of the beginning stages of cutting blunt bobs or bobs overall, I always like to use this kind of sectioning. The reason is I've always noticed that a lot of hairdressers that are starting, when they cut the back only, you know how in school they teach you to do the 4 quadrants and then start with the back and then move to the front, section the back and section the front. Sometimes you cut the back too short and then the front is too long, or the opposite. You leave the back like either too long and then when you section separately. So I like to, and again, I don't do this, so a lot of my videos and my content, you will not see me doing this specific partition. But when I am teaching a haircut class, not that I think you guys are beginners at all, but I'm not sure where you guys find yourself in terms of your skill set. So I always like to do this partition in particular. Kind of leave a little bit of the front out, so it's already a line that I'm going to use as a reference, and we're gonna cut together all across at once. The bangs, I'm gonna deal with them at the end, and this is something that I always explain to my clients. It's like, hey, we're gonna do the haircut first, the foundation of the haircut. We're gonna establish it. Once we establish it, we're gonna blow dry. And because I'm not quite sure yet, this is the first time I meet her. If I already knew her, I already know what to do in terms of the partitions, but she has some areas that has some receding hairline right here and some breakage as well in combination. I want to see it first, and then when it's dry, I like to cut it dry. Just for you to know, I'm gonna blow dry, but once I blow dry, doesn't mean that I'm done. I'm not done, I'm actually moving to the next phase. Always in the back, depends on the abundance of the hair. If you have Latinas, like I do, a lot of Latinas, the sections have to be a lot thinner for sure, because there's so much hair. I want you guys to see the sectioning. I'm creating a baseline. So right now, as you guys can see how thin or thinner it is here? Because of it, I'll start right here. A lot of times I don't, but I'm gonna start in the back, and I wanna give you guys a little tip that is extremely helpful and useful when it comes to doing bobs, because we oftentimes have those little hairs underneath that kind of come up or under once you cut, right? So two things that I do. One, I have my client go head forward like that, and see that cowlick right there? That hair is always gonna push up, so you have to be careful. So it's interesting because she has here hair that is more, see that hairline right there? It's like a V shape. I always have to take that into consideration as well. Sometimes I use my 2 fingers, comb, and then go here, cut. In this case, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna use my comb with the, not the white teeth, but the small one, because I want a little bit more natural. I want a more realistic sort of look. So right here, put their head down, and we're gonna go a little bit above shoulder length right here. I always love to use 7 because they're super big and makes me feel like a ninja.
All right, I always like to leave this back a little bit shorter, almost like an undercut, because once she puts her head up like that, then the hair is gonna push up. Then the rest of it is gonna fall maybe like 1/4 of an inch longer than this part that I just cut right now. Okay, so let me give you one of the mistakes that I see some hairdressers do when it comes to doing bobs. One of those mistakes is when they have the client with the head down like that, and they do the whole entire sectioning. If you do that, when she puts her hair up, the entire hair is gonna go down, and then the sides is gonna look shorter, the back is gonna look longer. So we only ask the client to put her hair down only for this part. That's it. Once you're done cutting that area of the perimeter, then head up, and then we can continue. You have no idea how many haircuts I had to fix that. She kept her hair, and what she did was like, did I just do a mullet? All right, so the reason why I like to have some of these pieces out is because it helps me to create a perimeter from the get-go. Like, so I don't have to cut the back and then hopefully make sure that the front is aligned. I can do it from now and then continue to move forward. Then I focus on section on the back. And then as we progress, then we can partner with the front area. Sometimes, depending on the day, if I want to look cool, I just but I do this more for show. And then she's like, wow, like, how are you using his hands? I'm like, I know, because I'm a ninja. The front, I always leave it a little bit longer. Anybody want to tell me why? So we all have less hair here, more hair here, less hair here. What's going to happen when you have less hair, has less weight? Correct? So the sides will always go higher no matter what. So if you cut it exactly at the same line, how it should be like super straight, still the front is gonna look higher when you blow dry it.
I wanna keep some of the squareness of it, so my focus is gonna be mostly on the top. So you see, okay, so this is gonna be my guideline because this is where the crown area stops. And I don't wanna do too many layers right now. Since I'm gonna go back, I'm gonna show you guys some techniques that are gonna help have long layers and yet a lot of movement without making the hair look thin. All right, let me ask you guys this question. When you point cut, how many of you guys do this? She's throwing you under the bus. Dang, okay. Even with long scissors, this is why I love it. Okay, instead of doing this. Okay, thankfully, yes, okay. But right here, why my body posture is perfect, my hand is perfect, and then we come here. I know, super satisfying. I have done it so many times, but it's such a wrong way to do it.
Because you cut yourself.
Always, 100%. I have a video actually in my Instagram. It is probably one of the most views and likes videos that I have of me cutting myself. Are you kidding me? Like, are you celebrating that and you want to see it? Of course, people want to see it, but it's like, I showed a little bit of the blood and whatever, and my reaction, it was so natural because I was just doing that, and I literally chopped it like, and I did that, so I actually kind of slowed down my face when I was like, anyways. So I'm working only in the back. I'm gonna move towards the front in a second. Same thing, I'm kind of following. If you wanna know exactly how I know where my guideline is, comb, making sure that it's the same shape of the head right there. This is where I'm cutting. I almost cut myself. Now, I want you guys to notice something. I am moving to the opposite side. I started right here, 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 right? And then I move right here. I am not changing my body posture to this. Do you think this is more comfortable or more uncomfortable? If I'm working on this side and I want to create sort of a square layers, if I'm working here, I can see better in terms of visual and body posture. I'm better posture here. You guys already see she has some movement going on. The right layers creates body, creates movement. You see that already? I'm not even having worked too much in it and it's already looking better. I always like to take a little piece from the center. Since she parts in the middle, it's okay for me to do that. If she didn't part in the middle, it will be a complete different story. But since she parts in the middle, I'm going to bring these layers to the center. Same body posture. Now it's gonna get fun. Now I work on the sides and I stand behind her to create square layers on both sides. Right there, find my guideline. You see the perimeter is falling off. That's when I know that it's actually good layers and the length is actually perfect because the perimeter is not even being touched. It stays intact. Look how the perimeter is falling. See that? I'm not touching none of that. Solid perimeter, not thin. You get those clients, I just don't want my hair to look really thin. That actually looks pretty stable, pretty solid. You can see, even with the hair is air dry, it's not too short for it. Now, I tell my clients, be like, all right, here, go to the content section, pick some of your favorite stories, read them, and then we'll talk about it. And then they start crying in my chair. I'm like, yes, I know, life is hard. Don't worry, I got you. Your hair still looks good though, so. I don't want to define more the middle part that she has. I want to play around with it just in case there's other options and the hair allows me to play with it. But this is where I go to one side and then I go to the other. And I like to see what the hair does and how much opportunity there is for some change. Every single person's hair in the face of the planet have the same pattern of hair growth, and it's a C shape. The left side grows back, the right side grows forward. You ever notice that? So ask any of your clients, or I will ask you guys, which one is your favorite side? For the most part, everybody almost every time will say the left side because the hair flows back like that. But then this one is like getting in, you're trying to push it back and it goes in, it push it back. You guys ever notice that? You're gonna see it right now. Now you guys are gonna be able to see what I was telling you about, how the hair looks different on one side, how it grows a C shape. Can you guys see it right there? How the hair is going in that direction? So if you don't know that, you're gonna have trouble because one side is gonna look different and you're like, damn, but I actually measure it perfectly. And yes, you did if you do this, right? See how like when you put it together like correctly? So then you have to go back and refine the haircut before you continue for the rest. So oftentimes I just go here, or sometimes I have my clippers and I literally just go back with the clippers and cut it. But since this is pretty simple detail, consciously I know this side is a little bit longer when it comes to the right amount, like the length. I just gotta leave it like that because visually speaking, this is how it's gonna look whenever she has it at home. Not like if I were to brush it and make it perfect, right? So you see how this side is actually just kind of hiding itself. It's just going inside. This one is doing the opposite. So unless someone has some like cowlicks or things like that that actually changes the shape of the hair, almost all the time this side looks thicker, fuller. And if you texturize this side too much, you're literally gonna create a hole in that area. But the opposite is, for this side, you can actually texturize a lot more. If I texturize from the top down, where am I removing more hair from? The top, right? What happens if I remove from the top to this hair? What's gonna happen? How about? Yes, it goes out, right? If I do it from the bottom, does the opposite, actually goes in. With layers like this, there's a little bit of disconnection that looks. A lot of people don't like that. Me neither, to be honest. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to soften that disconnection, make it softer. I'm not gonna do more layering, I'm gonna do invisible layering. I'm going to evaluate in relationship with the layers that I did from the top, how well it looks. So I see some fullness right there. I can definitely play with it. If you have dry cutting scissors, it definitely makes it a lot easier because the dry cutting scissors have an angle blade, but this is not good for blunt cutting. It's gonna push the hair out. Okay, if you're trying to do blunt cutting with this, good luck.
Now, can you still do that same like back cutting technique if somebody has like thicker, coarser hair?
100%, yes. It's just a matter of choosing where you want the textures to be noticeable. Like for example, right here, for her, I'm trying to connect the top layers that we have here with the disconnection that was happening here so that it looks softer. And it's definitely a technique that I use with like anyone, depending on how much texture I'm trying to create. This is just basically a texturizing technique that is just different in its approach. Now, if you're looking this from the outside, can you really tell that she has tons of layers? No. This is the good thing about dry cutting scissors. It doesn't pull her hair as you do that because the blade is angled.
Now I'm gonna start moving into dry cutting, back cutting a lot of it with my dry cutting scissors. And as you see, I'm just gonna create a lot of texture on the hair as we move around the entire head.
There's a little bit of a line right there. I always try to specifically pick that line and then break it. And you can do that with point cutting too. It doesn't have to be what I'm doing right now. It's just a matter of making sure that you use a technique that you break whatever line you see around. Can you guys tell that even though I left the front longer, it still looks like pretty even because it lifts. It always does. And this is where it gets kind of tricky when you explain to your client, hey, your side looks different or grows different than the other. It's not that you're doing anything wrong or styling it incorrectly. It has everything to do with how your hair does. There's nothing wrong with them or nothing wrong with your haircut per se. It has a lot to do with nature, life. This is the part about visual hair cutting that is so important. A lot of times we don't take the time to see how the hair, we want to follow like a specific guideline on what section is the right section. Honestly, sometimes it's just a matter of like doing the right technique that aligns with the hair type, hair texture, the reality of her front, like her front was already sort of broken. So I always like to make sure right here, this side is a little bit teeny tiny longer, and then we style it and then we're good to go.
Now we're gonna texturize everything. So the way I'm doing it is every single curl from the front goes back, and every other curl is gonna meet each other. In other words, the first one goes back, the other one goes forward, so they're gonna be constantly meeting each other, so that it creates a beachy wave type of style.
Yeah, that looks really good.
Okay.
And I feel like you have such a petite face, so I feel like that's like.
She can definitely handle it, yes. She can definitely handle it. Heck yeah.